according to head coach Kevin Stefanski. Brown students in a player home today who was experiencing COVID symptoms. Jaguars quarterback Gardner Minshew will miss their Week 9 matchup against the Texans because of a thumb injury. Lions wide receiver Kenny Golladay is going to miss their Week 9 game against Minnesota after suffering a hip injury in yesterday's loss to the Colts. As for trades today, Chargers sent defensive back Desmond King to the Titans for a 6th-rounder. Niners dealt linebacker Quan Alexander to the Saints for linebacker Kiko Alonso and a conditional 5th-round pick. And the SEC reprimanded Florida head coach Dan Mullen and fined him $25,000 for his role in a brawl against Missouri on Sunday.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time for the Rundown with Rob Sanders.
Welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us here today. We have a lot of stuff to go over. If you can hear that, that is my picks from the weekend. We'll tell you how I did. That's coming up later in the show. We've also got several other little things we're going to get into today. Oh, man, it's been a busy, busy weekend. Of course, if you want to respond to everything that went on, if you want to talk about that Clemson matchup with Boston College, I love the Clemson fans on Twitter that were like, yeah, man, I knew they'd come back. Yeah, but then like 20 minutes ago, you were talking about, man, we sure did miss Trevor Lawrence. It was pretty funny. I mean, I like comedy. I mean, I really do. So, yeah, that was some interesting stuff there. So we'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832 if you want to get involved with the program this afternoon. But as always, on Monday, we kind of recap the weekend because, let's be honest, it's sometimes really hard to catch every single game. It's just tough to do. So with that, I thought that I would bring you, of course, the tour around the ACC and the SEC. And you know what? We're going to start with, how about we start with Wake Forest and Syracuse? Of course, Wake Forest is now 4-2. Syracuse falls to 1-6 as Wake wins 38-14. Pretty much everything in this game was what you would expect. The Deacs were just better in just about every spot. 10 explosive plays, better starting field percentage. I mean, insert whatever it is you want to talk about with the Wake Forest here as they win big, blowing out Syracuse. And they're playing some pretty decent football. They may be one of the better teams in the ACC moving forward. All right, so now we move on to Notre Dame, which is ranked number 4 in the country. They play Georgia Tech. And with that, you had a lot of this. As we roll along here, there we go. You had a lot of that. Kyron Williams doing some great stuff as Notre Dame dominated from front to back, and they pick up the win over Georgia Tech.
Down to 2-1, and that's how the game will end. Notre Dame moves its record to 6-0 with a 31-13 win here in Atlanta over Georgia Tech.
There you go with that. Georgia Tech continuing to spiral. Notre Dame stays undefeated and head into their matchup. We'll talk about Clemson in just a moment. I'm trying to figure out the best word that I can use with this. I enjoy when coaches play games to win games. Virginia, a team that's 1-4 overall, playing a 4-1 North Carolina team. North Carolina had everything going for them. You hear so much about Mac Brown and Sam Howell and everything else. The Tar Heels had a 55% edge in yards per play, 110 yards edge overall. But you know what? That doesn't matter. Coach Mendenhall faced short fourth downs in this game. They went for it on fourth down all 4 times, but late. They're up 3. They're on their own 45, and they've been going for it on fourth down all night. He brings out his punt team, and then this happens.
And a snap here to Thompson. Little slip there, but stays on his feet. Still moving forward. Keaton Thompson with a spectacular play as he will pick up the first down.
There you go. Coach Mendenhall has got some bruises on his knees. I'll leave it at that, okay? And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he really, really called and did some good stuff there for this matchup with North Carolina. Nothing to lose there. They're 1-4. And what happens? There you go. As North Carolina falls, Virginia gets the job done. They win 44-41. North Carolina, there was talk about, okay, this could be the team. Even from me, I said I thought they could be a team that would knock Notre Dame out of the mix from going to Charlotte. Wow, do I feel stupid. I can admit when I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen. North Carolina shoots themselves in the foot. How do you let that happen at the end of the game? Coach Mendenhall has already went for it 3 times on 4th down. You think he's not going to go for it again? That's a lapse in coaching there by Mack Brown and the guys from North Carolina. You line up and go after it. And it ends up shooting themselves in the foot. And not to take anything away from Virginia, but in reality, you got to blame Mack Brown a little bit on this and his coaching staff as North Carolina falls. Let's talk about this Clemson game. Clemson goes into this matchup with Boston College, a little bit of uneasiness there. They don't have Trevor Lawrence, the starting quarterback, the guy that is looked upon as being a Heisman Trophy frontrunner. You don't have Skalski, the linebacker, in addition to like 3 other starters on defense. Boston College comes out, and they kind of hit Clemson in the mouth, including this play, where they stopped the Tigers short on defense.
And I don't even have to ask. Take a bow, Brandon Sebastian, Boston College defense. The stunner continues in Death Valley.
They were up 28-10 at one point. I mean, that pretty much tells you all you need to know about that, right? I'm in line voting, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, man, how does this happen? Clemson, though, makes big plays throughout. DJ Uiagalelei gets the job done for Clemson. The Clemson defense comes up late and stops Boston College. There you go. Clemson rallies from a huge deficit to knock off a really good Boston College team. There you go. Don Munson on the Clemson radio network there as Clemson rallies. That's pretty much all you can say about that. We'll take calls at 803-978-1832. Shout out to Jimmy watching on Facebook Live today. So how much do you think the home field advantage is in 2020? I think that the big thing with home field advantage is that you don't have to travel. You don't have to go to the hotel. I mean, that can be tiring. You know what I'm saying? I know they do everything they can to make it easy, but as far as playing in the stadiums, though, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. So, yeah, there's that. Moving along, Louisville playing Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech lost to Wake Forest, which all of a sudden doesn't look like it's that big of a deal. So they go into this matchup with Louisville needing to get the win, and they hold on and win over the Cards 42-35. The Cards had 3 turnovers. That was kind of a big deal there. The Hokies had giving the Hokies a lot of good starting field position there And, yeah, they win big. We'll head out to the phones really quick here. And good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man? Yeah, how about it? What you got, brother? Okay. Okay. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, you hit him in stride. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. You hit people in stride, they can make big plays. Jerkovich. Jerkovich was his name. Yeah. He's a great player. He certainly is. All right.
Play calling, Mr. Elliott. Tony is his name, right?
Tony Elliott, the offensive coordinator for Clemson. Yes, sir. Not feeling that, right? Yeah, he's a freshman quarterback. You can't give him the entire playbook yet. They didn't have they didn't have a lot of time as far as no fall camp, basically. I can understand that. Okay. Okay. Right. Yeah. You didn't see that, and I understand, but they say that winning is the best deodorant, and I'm sure there's lots of things that he'll probably look at this week, and I think we all can agree Clemson is going on the road to Notre Dame, and they're a much better team than Boston College is. I'm not being disrespectful to Boston College. If Clemson falls behind by 18 at Notre Dame, they're going to get blown out. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Well, you don't want to fall behind by 18 to anybody, but you definitely don't want to fall behind by 18 to this Notre Dame team with Kyron Williams back there and Ian Book, who is a great quarterback that can lead kind of a ground and pound type offense, which is what Notre Dame has. And Notre Dame can line up with you and run, and they don't care. They'll be consistent with it. If they get up by 18, it's not going to be a good trip for Clemson.
If Notre Dame's up 18 against Clemson, go ahead and put.
Yeah, you're right about that, brother. Well, I mean, we'll see how that works out. Clemson's they opened up as a 4-point favorite in that matchup. I think they're going to have to do that. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that they didn't have Latson. They didn't really have Nagata. They didn't have Justin Ross. The guys that can go down the field and take the top off of that defense, they didn't really play. I mean, they weren't out there at all. So that has a little bit to do with it. Your best downfield threats are sitting on the bench. So when that happens, that's kind of a big thing. So, okay, sir. Right. Spectre? Yeah. Williams. Yeah, I'm with you. And Cornell Powell also played. I'm not sure, but I know Cornell Powell had a huge game, and I think he had like 10 catches. So he is. But wouldn't you feel a little bit better if you had a Justin Ross out there, a guy that could go over the top and make plays? I mean, yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that. All right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts, man. I mean, it's all good stuff there, but I think that Tony Elliott's a good football mind, and he's going to figure it out. I mean, he has to learn to trust his quarterback a little bit. Yeah.
Down 18 points. I'm not bashing anybody.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I never said you were. Yeah. I hear you, bud. Well, hey, I look forward to this week's matchup, man. I've got a gentleman that covers Notre Dame that's going to be on the program with us a little bit later this week, so we'll get more of an in-depth look at the Irish. So looking forward to that. All right, fair enough, man. Hey, thanks for calling us, brother. We appreciate it. All right, there you go. Some good thoughts there. If you want to respond to what he said, 803-978-1832. We did have one other matchup in the ACC. Duke stepping out of conference, winning over Charlotte 53-19. Ugh. Nah, I mean, games like that, you're like, yeah, all right, whatever. I want to play one more thing during this ACC break before we go into our break to talk about the SEC. Coastal Carolina is now the 15th ranked team in the country. They beat the Fighting Sean Elliott's at Georgia State, just getting the job done. I'd say by a little bit. They hammered Georgia State. Yeah, Coastal Carolina is a pretty good football team. The bad boys from the beach getting it done, the Chanticleers. Shout out to the folks watching on Facebook Live. We appreciate them. Jimmy says Clemson was a 7-point favorite prior to Lawrence being out. I believe so. Edwin has not nice things to say about Notre Dame that I cannot say on the air because I won't be here tomorrow if I do, and I don't want to completely screw over the program. I'm just saying. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that feel that way about Notre Dame. You can follow all of that in our live stream over on Fox Sports Radio's on Facebook with search for the Rundown with Rob, and you can follow along. So one other comment, Jason says he's ready for the game this weekend. He thinks Clemson's going to destroy Notre Dame. They cannot take advantage of Clemson's issues in deep passing. Uiagalelei and ETN will rip them apart. You know what? I haven't really seen anyone that Travis Etienne just played with a ton of heart on Saturday. I mean, he really led that team. He really did. But I tell you what, when you watch that game, though, it makes you realize, you know, the Clemson defense needs their starters back. That's one big, huge thing. You don't realize how great somebody is until they actually leave. And certain teams can tell you about that. Hello, LSU. Man, you think they don't miss some of the playmakers they had as they've turned into a complete gong show down in Baton Rouge. A loss this weekend that had me shaking my head. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And we'll also talk a little bit about the falling off of Georgia. Georgia's supposed to be this monumentally great program, and guess what? I hate to be one of the few people that will put this out there, but they're not. They're not. They're not nearly as good as their fan base wants to think that they are. And they have a head-to-head matchup thing with Clemson here, where they own the head-to-head. Since they won their last national title in 1980, which is 40 years ago, Georgia hasn't been nearly the football program that Clemson has been in the past 10 years. Clemson's last 10 years are better than Georgia's last 40. It's math, ladies and gentlemen. It's math. We'll talk about that and a lot more in just a moment. Our full recap of the SEC when we come back. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hey, you guys rock over there on Facebook, man. I love you guys over there. Appreciate it. If you could just like the page, that would be awesome. Like the Rundown page so I can see it. Jason, you're right. I don't know what Edwin's yupping about, but we'll just go with yep, Edwin's right. Jason thinks that Texas A&M is the second best team in the SEC. Look, I'm going to give you something on Texas A&M. There was a guy last night on the Rob Comrade and Kale podcast that called in from Texas A&M, and he told me Texas A&M is on the birth of a playoff run. I don't think so. I wasn't necessarily looking. I didn't feel that at all. Didn't feel that at all. What a mess. He's trying to tell me, oh, Texas A&M's great. They're great. They're going to stop it. Stop it. It's a mess. They're not going to the playoffs. Let's slow down a little bit on the Texas A&M. They're going to do some great things because that's just not happening. So, yeah. I don't know who's more delusional right now, the Georgia fans or the Texas A&M fans. Both are silly. Let's just leave it at that. Both are very silly, but wow, with some of the stuff that Texas A&M fans are saying right now, that Jimbo Fisher's getting the job done. Is he? Is he really? Oh my goodness. They are losing hope with UGA. You're right about that. Let's see. You're not sure about the playoffs? Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Some of the stats I've got on this Georgia game that I'm going to give you in about 45 seconds over there, you guys are going to appreciate. It is amazing, some of the stats from this game. I mean, wow. I look at these stats and I'm like, what were they playing? Insane stuff. These might shock Edwin, who's seen a lot of football in his life, I'm sure. But yeah, this is interesting stuff here. All right, here we go. Well, welcome back to the Rundown. Let's start with our SEC weekend in review. And I'll tell you what, man, this is I got to start with Georgia and Kentucky. Look, Georgia is not the team we thought they were. They really weren't. Stetson Bennett did do some good work with his feet on Saturday.
It'll be kept behind and into the end zone. Touchdown, Stetson.
Yeah. Here's the thing with this guy. He's a milquetoast version of Jake Fromm. That's basically what he is. I mean, I can't think of any other words that I can describe without yelling some of the curse words that Georgia fans see every time he trots out onto the field. But here's the big thing with this. Kentucky and Georgia, the teams combined for 26 completions. Neither quarterback threw for more than 131 yards. Kentucky averaged 3.6 yards per completion. The teams combined for 575 total yards. More than 350 of those were on the ground. When you stop and look at it, does anybody else think that maybe, just maybe, this Georgia team isn't exactly what we thought they were, just like I said? And by the way, Kentucky, we knew coming into the season, Kentucky was going to be terrible on offense. We had that wrapped into our heads. They put Lynn J. Bowden out there, and he ran a lot of stuff at quarterback for them. That's how they won games last year. We did know Kentucky would have good defense. They went toe-to-toe with Georgia, and they held Georgia to 14 points, but they lose 14-3. Kentucky is not the team that I thought they were. I thought that they would get in the realm of scoring 17 to 20 points a game. Not so much. Stetson Bennett's numbers on the day, 9 of 13, 131 yards, and 2 picks. They have guys on the bench. DeJuan Mathis, the young man that started the first half against Arkansas, he went in for one half and didn't play very well, and they've buried him on the bench. Okay, there's rumors, according to Crazy Uncle Lou, who is the noted Georgia apologist, that he tweeted out something about, God bless you, DeJuan, as you move on. If I was DeJuan Mathis and they keep trotting this guy, what is it, Stetson Bennett the third out there, I would transfer too. You're telling me I mess up for one half and you're going to bury me? This guy has thrown, 6 interceptions in 2 games, something like that? And you're going to keep throwing him out there? It's a mess. Georgia, and here's the thing, though. There's still Georgia fans that are like, you know what? We'd like to have another crack at Alabama. No, you don't. You don't want anything to do with Alabama. And I hate to break this to you as well. You probably don't want to play Mizzou in a couple of weeks, and you've got Florida this weekend. Florida may light you up like a Christmas tree. Just saying. You're not going to be able to score much. That Florida defense is pretty Florida defense is not exactly – crummy is a good word for it. They're not very good. They're really not. But just wow with Georgia, man. Wow. Alabama and Mississippi State, you know what we got with that? We got a lot of this. Yeah. Devontae Smith now tied with Amari Cooper for the most touchdowns, receptions in school history. Caught 11 passes for 203 yards, marking the 4th time in his career he's gone over 200 yards, and they beat the snot out of Mississippi State. The Pirate comes in, lights up LSU the first game of the season, and we're all thinking, wow, they did that to LSU on the road. They haven't done anything since. They have been terrible. Alabama can make it look terrible, though. The big story, though, comes in this next game is Florida and Mizzou. These guys are fighting at the end of the first half.
Missouri and Florida players kind of mixing it up a little bit. Oh, look here. Now we got something going on now because both pitchers are out there in the middle of the field. And it is a real Donnybrook right now. Yeah, there's going to be some people kicked out of this game. Fists are flying, and this is an ugly scene. On an untimed down to end the first half, it looks like a hockey game broke up.
Yeah, guys throwing punches. And the best part, it looked like an old WWE type event where Dan Mullen's going out there thinking he's The Rock and he could just start smacking people around. Not so much. Dan Mullen, you're a coach, brother. Stay on the sideline, get your guys back. Don't go out there throwing punches. That's not going to work out well for you. You're not as big as some of these guys that you're out there trying to throw punches with. By the way, he was fined $25,000 by the SEC today, and some players got suspended for a half for fighting, the majority of them coming from Mizzou, who has the week off. It didn't really matter, though, that much on the scoreboard as Florida takes it home.
The Florida Gators, Halloween homecoming winners tonight as Florida scores 28 consecutive points in one juncture for a commanding win as the Gators smash Missouri 41-17.
There you go with that matchup. Let's move on to Auburn and LSU. You know, I look at LSU and I don't know what I'm really looking at. You know, I tried to sit down and write something creative that I could talk with you about with LSU and how I think that LSU can right their wrongs. But the reality is that I don't know if they can. I really don't. This is an LSU team that plays, Alabama this weekend, I believe it is? Or maybe that's next weekend. I've got to look at my schedule in front of me here. But can you really look at the rest of LSU's schedule and figure out a game that they can actually win? When you really stop and look at it, I just don't think so. I mean, LSU looks really, really bad right now. As they run away, Auburn runs away 48-11. And it was just a mess. Just a mess, man. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing I can say with you about this game. You don't really know what you got with Auburn either. Auburn comes to South Carolina, and they look like South Carolina had their number, and they just go out and they just start winning more games. It's just a mess. That's pretty much what you got with that LSU game. Just sad. Sad on that front for LSU because will they have the time to get back? Yeah. But when you have a champion that comes out and the next season they just get completely shamed, I'm not saying it throws a dust at the last year's championship team, but you just kind of expected more, and you just didn't get it. LSU might finish 2-8. They might. The next matchup, Texas A&M playing a very improved Arkansas team. Sam Pittman, once he gets some horses, he's going to be fine down there at Arkansas. There'll be people screaming "Woo Pig Suey," jumping on the pig bandwagon before long, but A&M had just a little bit too much for the Hogs this weekend. By the way, just an interesting note there. So since the Razorbacks are winless against A&M since A&M joined the SEC, so it's Arkansas and South Carolina both have not beaten Texas A&M since they joined the league. So yeah, there's that. You've also got another matchup with Ole Miss playing Vanderbilt. Ole Miss wins 54-21. Just too much on that side for Vanderbilt. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about my picks and what to look forward to this weekend. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hello? Hello?
Mom and teacher.
Yeah, what's up?
I want my family to be safe.
I was wondering, do you think I'd be better to go right here, or do you think I'd be better to try and drive downtown when you was?
I don't know. It depends on what it looks like where you are. I don't know.
I hadn't gotten there yet, but this morning when I was on my way into work at 7:15, it was already wrapping around the building.
Yeah, if I were you, I'd go right there because you go downtown, it's going to be packed either way. So you might as well go there and get in line before everybody gets off work.
Okay, well, I'm going to head there then. I'm going to go right here to North Springs.
All right, see how it looks, honey.
I will.
All right, I'm on the air, but if you need something else, just text me, okay?
Okay.
All right, I thought something was wrong.
No, I'm just, I didn't know if you guys had heard anything at the station about how bad the lines were at different places.
I mean, people are waiting in line like crazy, so it's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you all right?
All right. Yeah, I'm fine.
I didn't get a chance to cook my food, but I'm going to try to pre-cook my food tonight so I can pack it up. And I just didn't get a good start today. I forgot my gym bag. I'm just all over the place. But I'm going to get back into it tomorrow. So we'll figure out what we got to do for dinner and everything else.
Well, we got the steak, so
Yeah, that's right.
I'll cook those.
All right, that sounds great.
Okay.
All right, I love you. I'll be there as soon as I can.
Okay, then.
Love you.
All right. Well, since you didn't take your gym bag, are you going to the gym or not?
No, I'm not. I mean, I can't go. I don't have the clothes.
Okay.
So I just don't have it. But I'm by myself today, so I don't know how long I'm going to be here for production.
Okay.
So I'll let you know.
All right, sweetheart.
All right, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be. Right at your retirement. The same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Struby or save your retirement with Pat Struby. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down the street. Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio. And Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WBOC. For Save Your Retirement, Pat Struby.
Listen, we're all getting older, but that doesn't mean you have to feel your age. Are you ready to turn back the clock? It's 2020, and there's never been a better time to start looking and feeling young again. Introducing Andro400.com. Andro400.com has proven solutions to help melt belly fat, increase mood and memory, increase energy, and bring that spark back to your love life. Visit Andro400.com or call 888-400-0435 to see which product is right for you. Try the safe and natural way to start feeling and looking your best. And there's nothing to lose with an industry-leading 90-day money-back guarantee. Visit Andro400.com or call 888-400-0435.
Need quality HVAC solutions? Trust On-Call Plumbing, Heating and Air. At On-Call, we're a team of experts providing heating, ventilation, and air conditioning services for homes and businesses in the Midlands. For any HVAC emergency, On-Call Plumbing, Heating and Air is here 24/7 to serve you with trained technicians, not trained salespeople. Visit us online at OnCallSC.com to schedule a service today. On-Call Plumbing, Heating and Air. Call 781-HELP.
This is Doug Allen. Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by All American Heating and Air.
Lawrence's COVID diagnosis, dampening Clemson's odds of winning a national championship. Sportsbooks elevated Alabama and Ohio State above the Tigers, while Lawrence is no longer the better spade for the Heisman. North Carolina suffered one of the biggest falls in this week's college football rankings. Tar Heels dropped 11 spots in the coach's poll to number 24 after losing to Virginia. Giants host Tampa Bay tonight on Monday Night Football. Big Blue seeking its second win of the year. Bucks sit atop of the NFC South. I'm Scott Davidson.
Kill COVID-19 in your home with the All-American Heating and Air Purifier. The ApcoX whole home air treatment system is now proven to kill COVID-19. Keep your family safe and install an air purifier today. AllAmericanHeatingandAir.com. It's time to show your online assistant where you go for a good time. Okay, Google, play Fox Sports Radio 1400 on iHeartRadio.
Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today as we get set up for big matchups this weekend for Clemson and South Carolina. And my first look, when I look at Texas A&M, I think that Texas A&M has some guys that are not really big-time playmakers at the position spots. Okay? I do think Kellen Mond is a good quarterback. They really don't have anybody that you look at and you're like, you know what? That guy can carry a team. Just saying. It's kind of how I feel with all that. So with that, I don't really know what to expect from South Carolina and their defense. Sometimes they look pretty good, but the majority of the time they just don't. And what has Will Muschamp cooked up during the bye week? Just saying. This is the time where you can make adjustments and possibly pivot and do something good with your season. Will they do something different on offense? It's a big question there with the Gamecocks. And you know what? If you're going to sit here and tell me you know, I'm going to tell you you don't. Because nobody knows. Nobody really knows what they're going to see. And that can be an advantage for South Carolina. But I would be frustrated as a fan if they went out there and they did, I'm not saying making wholesale changes, but if there wasn't a couple of new things on the offensive side of the ball, like, I don't know, getting Luke Doty in to maybe quarterback a little bit, a wrinkle that Texas A&M hasn't seen, I'd be upset as a fan, especially with the way the offense kind of sputtered against LSU. So, and one other thing, Harris has to have carries. We talked about this last week. He has 5 carries in the first half. South Carolina loses this week. Write that down. He needs at least 10 in the first half and maybe 10 to 15 in the second. If they go that route, they've got a pretty good chance to win. But the fact that they didn't get him the ball is one of the main reasons they lost at LSU. That and the defense. And Colin Hill, I'm not going to say he was exposed, just saying he didn't really look like the all-world caliber. I mean, he wasn't really that anyway. The most efficient quarterback. Took some sacks that he shouldn't have taken. Seemed like he was holding on to the ball for too long, hoping not to make mistakes. At this point of the year, you're 2-3, and you're trying to get yourself into a position where everybody's bowl eligible at this point. So you're not really looking at it from that perspective. But you have it on the other end of, wouldn't you like to go into the offseason saying, you know what, during this year, even during the pandemic, South Carolina was able to get a win over Auburn and get a win over Texas A&M, the first win over Texas A&M since they joined the conference. If you win this game, you're at 3-3. You got 4 games left. The last 4 games, Mizzou is an interesting team that you got to deal with. Georgia's an interesting team. Georgia has absolutely no offense. None. And then you just go from there. It's Kentucky at the end of the season. They don't have any offense either. So, yeah, your 4 matchups here. It's kind of interesting with the last 4, with what South Carolina can do with them. But if you have those 3, the 3 that you've got right now, not an embarrassing yourself with Vanderbilt, getting a win over Auburn and getting a win over Texas A&M, that might be some mouthwash for what, in some eyes, is kind of a disappointing season. More of the rundown when we come back. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. I am sweet, Jimmy. You're right.
hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos, and iHeart radio station.
Final segment of the rundown this afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. I like to take time on Monday and look back at my picks from the weekend to see how I did. A lot of times I look at these, I fill out my sheet in here, and then I kind of like, yeah, okay. So with that, let's roll down my list of picks from the weekend here. I took, as I look at my schedule and stuff here, I want to make sure that I've got all correct scores because, yeah. So from last weekend, we'll start with a Big Ten matchup. Minnesota was an 18-point favorite over Maryland. And with that game, yeah, I look at it, and Maryland wins 45-14 in OT. That gets the gong for the week. Yeah, I love PJ Fleck, man, but you kind of let me down, sir. I took Michigan to cover against Michigan State. Yeah, another gong. Wake Forest over Syracuse. You know, we talked about that matchup earlier. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I get my first. Yes, I was right on that one. So that puts me at 1-2. Back to North Carolina and Virginia. I picked North Carolina. That puts me back at 1-3. Clemson, I took the Tigers. Yeah, not so much. 1-4. I took Louisville to win over Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was a 4-point favorite. Yeah, that's not good either. That's 1-5. Notre Dame over Georgia Tech. 31 to I was in at -17 as the opener there. They win by 18. That makes me 2-5. Congratulations. I had Coastal Carolina. They win big. Boom. Back at it. Now I'm at 3-5. We're working our way out of the hole, ladies and gentlemen. Ohio State, an 8-point favorite over Penn State. And with that matchup, how did that come out to be? Ohio State wins big over Penn State. I think it was what did they win by? They won by 13, so that's a win. Now I'm at 4-5, working my way back to 500. I took Oklahoma State. That was not good. Yeah, now I'm back to 4-6. Texas Tech and Oklahoma. With that matchup, Texas Tech was a 15-point favorite in underdog in that matchup. Did they go and beat that there? Nope. Now I'm 4-7. It's not looking good this week. LSU 4-8. Wow, this is terrible. Vanderbilt 4-9. Alabama, they covered. There you go. Arkansas. That puts me at Arkansas wins, so now I'm at 6-9. And then Mizzou, they did not cover. So it's a losing week for old Rob here at 6-10. And Georgia also didn't cover. So 6-11 on my 17 picks. I'm still going to pick on Friday, though. By the way, for the season, I'm right at, I think my numbers showed earlier, I'm at like 52%, which is sad. What a horrible set of games. I mean, wow. I wanted to talk with you a minute here about some bowl projections. And this is, they're already putting out bowl projections, by the way, even though we don't really know which way some bowls are going. You know, we'll get into that in a moment. By the way, if you're following along on the blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com, full story on Dan Mullen getting fined. Also, the story about Trevor Lawrence, who is now no longer the betting favorite to win the Heisman. Yep, that's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. He is no longer the favorite to win the Heisman. So there you go with that. Not a good look for Trevor Lawrence to be out right now. And they're kind of kicking him in the face because he's got the COVID. So there's that. Everybody's in love with Justin Fields. Oh, Justin Fields is the greatest thing ever. Okay. Sure. Anyway, I think Mac Jones is playing a lot better than anybody else right now, to be in my opinion. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably go with Mac Jones. So some bowl projections here. I'm loading them up here. And this matchup with several different matchups that they have out there as I get myself squared away here. Let me make sure that my got proper information for you. But there are some bowl projections that are out there early that show some interesting stuff here. And a lot of teams making bowl games that probably don't have any business making a bowl game. Just saying. It's a mess, my friends. It really is. All right, if you want to respond to anything we've talked about today, 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I love bowl projections at this point of the season because they get kind of silly. So this is from College Football News. Their bowl projections so far are, let's see here. Here we go. Oh, these are from Athlon. Sorry about that. So their bowl projections, as we check this out here, as my computers are not helping me today. It's amazing. I've got all of these computers in front of me, and they're not helping. They're not working out for me here. So let's try one other page that I had saved here. As we get set up with college bowl projections, as we get ready for Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk. These came out a couple days ago, but Lawton will be in with us this afternoon from 4 to 6. And you can get the full coverage of Clemson's big win over Boston College. And I say big win because they only played a half. You know, it sounds silly, but they did get the job done. The biggest comeback in Clemson history happened that night, or happened on Saturday. Let's head out to the phones before we go. Welcome to the Rundown. Good afternoon. I'm trying, brother. What you got? I didn't play Tom Jones on Friday. I must have missed it. I am so sorry. I'll play it twice this Friday. I owe you one. That's my fault, man. Hey, I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for listening to the show. See, everybody loves Tom Jones, man. Tom Jones makes you happy going into the weekend. I could play it now, but, you know, people would start thinking it's Friday, and I'd throw everybody off. You know what? Somebody did tell me that I did miss it the other day, and I said, whoops, I forgot. Tom Jones on Friday here on the Rundown, the best way to kick off your weekend. So you're right about that. All right, so don't forget Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He is the czar of Clemson Sports, head of the vast Clemson Sports Talk radio network, not only heard here in Columbia, but also 100.1 The Fan down in Florence. And I got to get my DJ voice on 9:20 a.m. in Manning. Keep your dials tuned right there to listen to Clemson Sports Talk. You can also check him out at ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Podcast for shows up all the time. You can listen whenever you want. Same thing for this show. If you missed our SEC recap, our ACC recap, all of that will be on the website. On the podcast up at about 5 o'clock today. So be sure to check that out and subscribe away. I appreciate the people that do that. And, of course, read the blog page. All kinds of college sports news and good stuff on the blog page at foxsportradio1400.com. Now, don't forget Teddy Hefner in the mornings as well. He's on from 9 to noon. So you want some good radio there to listen as you're at work. But we will be back at it tomorrow. We've got a slew of good folks coming in this week, including our Notre Dame insider will be up with us probably Wednesday or Thursday. Tyler Crowder joins us again to help us pick because I went 6-11 last week. Not good, Not good at all. All right, so more of the rundown tomorrow. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Bye, y'all.